What is up, Kings? It is time for yet another car ride rant. So, as I always say, you never know when you're going to be struck by a moment of inspiration. And that's kind of what motivates these car ride rants, because the bottom line is I'm not always by my computer, and thus sometimes I just got to go this route and get it out there. But so I don't know how many, I think the title of this video is going to be Dexter Morgan, the Florida simp. I don't know how many of you guys are familiar with, or Imp, not the S, are familiar with the show Dexter. I've seen it a few times. I first watched it, a few years ago. One of my best friends told me about the show. And mind you guys, like I said, I first watched it, I guess several years ago, probably while I was in college, because my best friend told me about it. And I do realize that the show is kind of morbid. And if you're not aware, Dexter is a show about a serial killer who works for Miami PD. And he has this code, and it kind of unravels how that came to be, how he got his code. His dad, his foster dad, who he considered basically his dad and probably the most influential person in his life, saw, because he was a police officer, saw what he was early on, and basically helped him form a code. Like I said, that kind of unravels as the show carries on, who helped him construct that code. And essentially what the code is that he only kills people that deserve to be killed. They commit heinous crimes. They murder other people. They R-word other people. They're real scumbags. And there's a scene in the show where one of Dexter's fellow cops, who could basically tell that he was a weirdo, that he was not the same as everybody else, and basically was kind of becoming obsessed with him because he could tell that he was strange. When he finally gets caught, Dexter says to him essentially that he is a bargain. He says, if you ask me, I'm a bargain, because he does all of this stuff to get rid of these heinous people for little to no charge to the taxpayer. So that's kind of how he sees it. But that's not necessarily what I want to talk about. I just wanted to give a broad overview of the show. So I've watched it a few times. And like I said, I understand that the show is morbid. As a Christian, I'm not sure that it necessarily is the best thing to watch, but I do believe that, as Christians, we do need to be aware of some of these programs, ideas, and things like that, so that we can be prepared to help and be of use in any situation, in any context. So he, in the show, Dexter Morgan, is with this single mom who previously was in a bad relationship. She has 2 kids. And like I said, I realize that this is a show, but I think it says a lot about the kind of mainstream viewpoint on single moms. So she has 2 kids, and the former boyfriend for much of the first season is in jail, and then towards the end of the first season he gets out of jail. And as the first season unravels, Dexter basically is asked by Rita to bear more and more and more responsibility regarding these kids. Asked to pick them up, asked to babysit them, asked to basically do everything that a dad would do. And so the dad comes back into the picture, and the biological dad, and of course, you know, he tries to get back involved. He tries to regain the family that he once had, which now that I am red-pilled, looking back, and this was not the case when I first watched the show, I kind of wish he had, because in a lot of regards, and you'll hear this from Myron, you know, he always says, you should have just made it work with the child's father. And I agree, 9 times out of 10, that is what is best. And so, you know, you look at Dexter as a character, and so I'll just continue telling the story. So eventually Dexter has to kill this guy because he becomes too much of an impediment on the life that Dexter is trying to have with this like surrogate family, this family that is not his. And so he ends up killing him. And then, you know, later down the show, spoiler alert, the mom dies, and it's basically decided that the kids, after he has basically been their father for like 2-3 seasons, that they have to go and live with their aunts and uncles. And mind you, Dexter does have a kid with that woman, and he keeps that kid, but the 2 step kids go and live with their grandparents. And so I was thinking about it, and I was like, man, you know, when Andrew, and I'm going to be reacting to a video about this, when Andrew Wilson talks about the red pill, he really is right. It is, when you think about the red pill, all it is a data set of facts that you bear the brunt of and proceed how you need to proceed. And it's nothing more, nothing less. It doesn't mean that you have to do this, or even that you should or ought to do this. And so, you know, when you look at that character situation of Dexter, it's like textbook what is really asked of a man that starts to enter into a relationship with a single mother. At first, you're just involved with the mother, but then the mother, her natural biological instinct is to receive more provisioning, more protection, more and more and more as time goes on, to the point of basically you becoming the stand-in father with all the responsibilities that a normal father would have, except, as Myron would say, you don't have any of the authority. And as you see in the show, you can basically give all of this time, energy, effort, resources, emotions. You could even end up loving these kids, only to end up losing them like that, as Dexter did in the show. Now, I think he decided to do so. He decided to allow these kids to go with the grandparents rather than them being taken from him. But the point is that, and this is not even me saying that you ought not do this or should not do this, but it's simply the fact that if you enter into a relationship with a single mother, there is a high likelihood that you are going to bear all of the responsibility without any of the authority or benefits per se. And they can be taken from you like that. And I think it's just one of those situations that you need to know the truth. And if you're okay with that, then okay. And if you're not, then okay too. You know, because it is a really interesting situation, because the fact is there are a lot of single moms, and the fact is that kids do better with 2 parents in the household. And you know, on one hand, I personally don't think dating a single mother is the most advantageous thing in the world. But on the other hand, as a Christian, if we want to have our population become better, more moral, more mentally and psychologically sound, then some of these single mothers are going to have to be with a stepfather in order to improve the quality of life for these kids. So, I just thought that was an interesting situation from that show. And I think that it speaks volumes to pretty much everything that the Red Pill discusses. And like I said, it's not to say that you ought or should do anything. It's simply a data set, a fact, a realization that, in my opinion, is better to be known and proceed how you think is best based off of that information. My final closing thought is, for me personally, okay, I would only consider dating a single mom in very, very, very rare circumstances. And I will tell you those rare circumstances. One, she would have to be a very devout Christian. That's one. Two, her situation would have to be super strenuous with the past partner to where it made somewhat sense why that relationship didn't work out. In other words, I would prefer it not to be a situation where the relationship was just fine and she just decided to leave, because that shows that she is willing, that she does not hold marriage that dearly. And then the third thing, and this is the most important thing, is, and the second one I would say is definitely negotiable. It's not like a hard and fast, it's just more of a preference. But the third one is like guarantee. I would not be willing to do it unless I was given legal guardianship or parenthood over those kids on a legal basis. I would not be willing to do that, share my resources, my provisions, my energy, time, if I did not get that in return. I'm going to talk about a personal situation that I have seen in part 2 of this video, but thank you guys so much for watching. DBAP, don't be a pussy. We love facts are feelings, because your feelings just don't matter. Love you, kings. See you guys next time. Christ is King. Peace.